Saturday. It is February 20th. And of course, today's a great day to make some money and just be a little bit better than yesterday. As promised yesterday in the daily financial news, I was going to watch Ken McElroy's video talking about a crash in Q4 of 2021. And as expected, I think he is spectacularly wrong again. I think there's a couple of things that I might be sensing in Ken's videos, and I'd love your opinion on. First and foremost, he seems to be getting addicted, or maybe it's his team. Let's be clear, this is probably not Ken. This is probably somebody on his team. Looking at very clickbaity titles, they have come to realize that crash gets a lot of clicks and they make a lot of YouTube money, and they probably sell lots of courses and mentorship and all of that. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe YouTube is a funnel for Ken's business, and they realize that negative news, scary news, all of those things are, going to drive, things like that. So maybe that's what Ken is doing, but there will not be, mathematically, cannot be a crash in 2021. In fact, as I've said for quite some time now, the only thing that could cause a drastic crash in 2021, a crash meaning 20% drop or greater, is a sudden rise in the 30-year mortgage. If the 30-year mortgage goes from 3 to 6, that will dent the single-family housing market big time. So if you think that's likely, there you go. If you don't, if you think that's off the table for 2021, then there will not be a crash. Now realize I'm not talking about there will never be a crash. I am under the stance of not in 2021. And again, it's mathematically impossible outside of that interest rate discussion. So let's go back to Ken's video yesterday. And again, I took some notes. But first and foremost, Ken's presentation, his whiteboard discussion, was entirely supply based. He looked at the 3 million people in forbearance. He looked at this. He made this assumption. He made that assumption. It was all about supply. And then when he looks at demand, he only looked at 2019 Q4. What I would ask you first is, do you think the demand picture for single family homes is different in Q1 of 2021 versus Q4 of 2019? And the only answer is, hell yeah, it's different. Hell yeah, we've had this pandemic that makes people want to leave multifamily, makes them want to leave Class A urban, makes them want a backyard, makes them want a garage. Folks, demand is drastically different in Q1 of 2021 than Q4 of 2019. It is probably different by a factor of 50 or 75%. And that is not even taking into account the demand could be even higher if there was inventory. So that is the first thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way in Ken's analysis. He didn't ask himself hard questions about demand. Is demand different in 2021 than 2019? And the answer is yes, it's drastically different. That said, Ken is right. There could be some significantly hurt areas, New York, San Francisco. I've talked about them. They could suffer a crash, no doubt, but not nationally and not in 2021. Second, his discussion about inventory spiking or rising or whatever you want to call it doesn't take into account real life. I invested through the 2010 crash, and I was used to seeing inventory show up every week. I think it was every Monday, it just showed up. What Ken talks about, even though his assumptions I think are valid, 50% here and this over here and that is this, doesn't take into account that single family, the asset, the loan, they will dribble onto the market. And if something goes through foreclosure, Ken, there's no chance that that inventory shows up in 2021. Ken, go back and do your history. foreclosures, like actually going back to the bank, took over a year in most markets. So right now, you like to talk about, I don't know what it is, 3 million people or 600 grand or whatever it was, people in seriously delinquent. They haven't paid in over 90 days. Most of those people are actually in forbearance, and I think that is a misnomer. If you're in forbearance, you have agreement from the lender and the borrower. You are technically not a day late. You are not a day late until you and the lender don't agree. If you don't want to pay March 1st and they want the payment, now the clock starts. But if the lender says, you don't owe me on March 1st, we'll deal with this in June, you're not late, even though you haven't made a payment in 6 or 9 or 12 months. Folks, the time lag, the person who lost their job, the person who is in forbearance and still doesn't have a job, when they come out of this, yes, some of them will sell immediately. It'll be the right move. They're sitting on equity. They need to move for their job, whatever. But if they have no equity, if the back payments that they owe consume the equity that they had, people are going to do what they did last time. Consumers repeat the past. They will stay in their home. They will fight the foreclosure process. They will live mortgage free for another year. This inventory will not show up until late 2022, which again could be a problem, especially if inventory rises and interest rate rises. So that's the picture. The other thing we need to realize, Ken, is the buyer profile is changing. You and I, Ken, Gen X, investors, we need to realize that millennials and ultimately soon to be Gen Z will be dominating first-time buyers. And those folks are generally leaving Class A urban. They're out. They want the backyard. They want the garage, all of these things. These buyers are going to dominate the market like you and I have never seen. We're used to the baby boomers dominating. Our history says baby boomers dominate. Well, that's not the case anymore, Ken. We need to open up and realize that there's a new gorilla or elephant in the market, and you and I need to realize where they are buying. Suburbs, single-family homes, big change. And then, Ken, you missed the biggest, black swan or event that really could crush your analysis. And that is, what if, and this isn't really is, I don't even think it's a what if, it's a when, but granted, let's call it a what if. What if the current administration says, you know what? We want to goose home ownership. We want to take national pride in home ownership, and we want to give people $15,000 to buy their first home. That has been talked about, Ken. You know that's been talked about. If that happens this year, there's no freaking chance there's going to be a crash. Are you kidding me? We could see double-digit appreciation again, Ken. Come on. You missed what could really go against your analysis. In the end, Ken McElroy is a tremendous investor. Owns tens of thousands of units. I think he is a tremendous multifamily investor. In all honesty, I don't think Ken has looked at a single family market in 20 years. I look at mine every day. My students look at it every day. And again, as I've started, there is 0% chance outside of the 30-year mortgage going from 3 to 6%, with that one exception, of a crash in 2021. Too much demand, cheap debt, a lot of dry powder on the sidelines, no inventory, and the wave that Ken talked about doesn't show until 2022. It's just not possible. There will be some markets, Chicago, San Francisco, New York, Seattle, that suffer, sure, but that's not national. Ken, you're talking about a crash in Q4, and I'm willing to bet that real estate is up 10% nationally in 2021. I'd love to have a discussion with Ken McElroy about this. He's a mentor of mine. I've read his books. So folks, if you like this analysis, if you like what I have to say, or you think I'm an idiot, post something on Ken McElroy's video. Let's see if we can't schedule something and he and I can debate single family homes. I don't want to debate multifamily, but let's debate single family homes, because just like last time when Ken said there was a 40% crash coming, and I said he was wrong, and he was, and some of you out there thought I was wrong, it didn't happen. So again, no 40% crash, no crash in 2021, inventory spike that he's looking for at the end of the year, not nearly as much. He should talk about demand. Demand is very, very different. So at the end of the day, take care of yourself, and I will do the daily financial news at 7:30. I wanted to get this video out first.